Give me a little second. It's charging. All right. There you are. Now we are. Okay, so I was saying, okay, so today, in order to start a class, we are going to practice what we saw yesterday, and then we are going to start with a new topic, okay? By the way, I wanted to show you our chronogram or schedule. Give me a second.
Okay, I have a question for the lecture.
Yes.
So.
Oh yes, tell me.
Every example or just wording they show out it had better that everything is in the passive voice, passive better.
Okay, in the past participle.
Yeah. No, this is when you use that is for the that example is for the passive verb, no active. Yeah.
Okay, let me see. I'm gonna open it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. There we are. Let me see here. Okay, here. Google Documents. Google Docs. Fantastic. Let's see what we saw yesterday. Here we are. Okay. All right. So what could you please repeat your question now that we are seeing the example? So let's say for this one, for should.
No, it's everything really, because actually because the everything here the sample is passive verb. We don't use the active. That's right. When you use to,
oh yes,
act better.
Okay, and now I got the question. Yes, certainly. It's just passive. Because in active, because I mean we didn't say this because in active is like you know how to do it, right? It's like, for example, if you want to advise somebody about, I don't know, any matter with an active voice, you should say like, I recommend you to do this, right? I recommend you to play soccer, right? This is an active sentence, right? And you know how to use this, right? Because it's like it's super common to see this, right? I recommend you to play soccer. This would be a recommendation sentence in active voice. So yes, we didn't see it, but all the examples that we saw yesterday, the had better, for example, or the should, or the ought, all of them, as you have expressed correctly, all of them are in passive voice. And the active voice, if you want, we can complement it today. But we didn't talk about it. You're right. I mean, it's actually, you know how to do this because it's, as I mentioned, what we are taught when we are starting to learn English is one of the first topics, right? How to make recommendations. I advise you to do this, or active recommendation. So it's basically, yes, as I say, the structure would be an agent. It would be I don't know, an advice word, a receiver, and a complement, of course. That would be the structure. Agent plus an advice word, recommends, advise, must, anything. Receiver and complement. For example, I recommend you to play soccer. Let's see one more illustration. They advise me to, I don't know, to eat a hamburger. Right, something like this. Hamburger. I'm sorry, hamburger. They advise me to eat a hamburger, or I recommend you to play soccer. As you can see here, we are following the structure, right? I, an agent, in this case is I. Then the advice word, in this case, recommend. Then a receiver, right? I recommend you, and then to play soccer, right? The complement. In this case, the agent, they are the focus of the sentence, right? advise, me recomienda, advise me. And in this case, advice would be the advice word. It's the same advice. Receiver, in this case, me. And then we have the complement, to eat a hamburger, whatever we are recommending, right? The same for, I don't know, she, what else could be? Recommend, advice. Well, you can even use she should. Well, I mean, she must. No, no must. No, I recommend. She must. She recommends to wear. She recommends me to wear shoes, something like that. Okay, so do you see here the pattern, Shirley, in the structure? It's the agent, the person who gives the advice, the advice word, the receiver of the advice, and she recommends me to wear shoes. In this case, the complement. And this is the structure for you to recommend something in an active voice. Any question?
No, that's okay. But my question is the example before you can see the before example, does this is in passive or active voice?
No, all of these are passives.
Active, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's
Yes, all of these are passives. Yes, certainly, because if you look at this, Carlos had to be banned from the university because of his dangerous experiments. This is certainly passive, right? Because Carlos is the one who would be receiving, right, the expulsion. He is not exposing anybody. The university is the one that should ban or expose Carlos from the university. But in this case, for our sentence, Carlos is the person receiving the action, right? Carlos ought to be banned from the university. So it's passive. It's passive voice. And also these ones. The classes ought to be recorded. The classes don't record anything, right? Somebody has to record the classes, or the computer has to record the classes. But in this case, we are focusing on the object that receives the action. The classes ought to be recorded. And the same for should. Renato and Carlos should be noticed, right? For their presentation. It's not that they notice themselves, right? But they receive the, let's say, the honor for the presentation. Can you see?
yeah.
Fantastic. Yes. So yes, as you can see here, all of these ones, should, ought, and also had better are passive for advising. And here we have the structure for active recommendation, which is agent plus advice word plus receiver plus complement, right? And as I say, this is the most basic manner to recommend. I think that we are very familiarized with this one, right? Or do you have any question?
No, that's okay. Thanks.
All right, fantastic. Oh, my pleasure. Okay, so if we have clarified this, let us try to practice it a little bit more with the quizzes. Give me a second here. I want to prepare it before I show it to you. Where is it? Okay, here we are. I want to start. There we are. Okay, let's go. Here. All right, fantastic. Let's start. Here. Okay, let's go. So this is a quizzes for at, had better. In this case, not present because apparently the topic for other people. So when they teach this topic, they don't take into consideration the expression should, but it doesn't matter. With at and had better. So I'm going to visit your country. Where? Oh, we have not discussed questions, right?
No.
That is true. Let me see.
Okay.
At, where's at? Oh, for questions, it's like but no, of course, I think that in this case, active. Let me see this question here. I'm going to visit your country. Where should I go? Well, in this case is the third one, right? Where should I go? I think this exercise is for simple sentences with should and ought to. You know how to respond this one, right? How could you respond it? I'm going to visit your country. Where
should I go?
Exactly. Where should I go if I want to go shopping? As you can see, they are not using the passive voice in this case. Let me see. I want to confirm if they are using it or not. So we can change to another quizzes. It's raining and I don't want to get my dress wet. Okay, in this case, this is an example that we have seen. So respond to this one. It's raining and I don't want to get my dress wet. I
had better bring.
Yes. Very good. Yes, I had better bring an umbrella. It is a private conversation between you and Jane. I go. I mean, as I say, in this case, they are not using it with passive voice. It's a question. Remind that at and should are the same. So how would you respond it?
Appears. Always true.
Yes. Or I too. Yes, exactly. I think there's no need to explain this because, as I say, the question is the same for should and for ought. Now the film, I guess, starts at 9 p.m. rough. You
had no better.
had better not. Had better not. Had better not. Yes, when you want to express it in a negative manner, I think that we can complement that. Had better. I mean, when you want to say you had better not done something, the not is at the end of the expression. When add here, we have our at here. Here, the university ought to be aware. So if we, for example, would like to say that the university no debería estar consciente de la presentación de Shirley, how could we say it in a negative manner? I'm gonna write here a negative title. Negative for ought. It will be like this. The university ought not to be aware, right? Because we always have the possibility to recommend people things in a positive or negative manner, right? To say do this, to encourage people to do something, or to refrain people from doing something, right? So we need to learn both possibilities. The university ought not to be aware of Shirley's presentation. Like that, the university. All right. As you can see, the only thing that we are adding here is at not. And as you can see, not comes after at. I'm gonna add it here. The structure is basically the same, but you add, as I said, the model plus the word not. Where to be and past participle.
You had better. Had not.
Yes, you had better. Yes, and with the had better, it would be the same. You had better not, right?
Had better not.
In this case, it's the same. Carlos had better not talk to me if he wanted the prize, right? No, hubiera sido mejor que no me hable, right? I'm gonna state it here as well. Here the negative. For at. No, for had better. For had better. Yes and yes. So the negative for this one would be Carlos had better not not talk to me if he wanted to, or he wanted the prize. Like that. Carlos had better not. Had better not. And the structure would be Control C. Maybe we have had better not.
No.
Okay, had better not. There you are. Had better not talk to me if you wanted the prize. All right. And yes, and for sure you know, right? Should not. It's the same. I think that you know that one pretty well. But for at, it's also the university had not to be aware of Shirley's presentation, or Carlos had better not talk to me if he wanted the prize. All right. Is it clear? Any questions, Shirley?
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Let's move on. Here and here. So Dave loves chocolate, but
Should not eat tears.
exactly. It shouldn't it or should not?
Shouldn't.
Yes, shouldn't. I mean, it's the contraction, you know, shouldn't or should not. So yo, yo, I guess it's you. You leave your keys in the car. As you can see, this is an active recommendation, right? So this is very simple. You and respond.
Es como like to pair to be. The interferes should not to. The active.
All right, you should not. All right, well, let's see. Well, in this case, it's not, because I mean, you know, when you use should, you never use the how's this called, the infinitive, right? The should. For example, have you ever noticed? You should play, you should drive, they should sing, right? We never use the infinitive, but the base form of the verb, right?
Yeah, but this example, the before example, that is the should know and out know. That's the same, of where's the difference?
No, there is no difference. I mean, it's just a matter of, as I say, aesthetics. And for this sentence, I think they are, as I told you, they are very tricky, because literally the sentence means exactly the same. But I guess that it's more common to use should. As I told you, at is a word that is not very used. It's more common, excuse me, it's more formal. So when people use it, at, they use it in formal contexts. But for these sentences that, of course, are not, let's say, professional or formal, then you are not using at, but should as the preferred expression, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. So what about this one? Joe.
That's the same, pero okay. The better option.
Right? Tell me. Look at the three.
Pierce, it should.
All right. Very good. Very good, as I told you. It's a matter of, right, comprehending the context in which these questions are being made. And apparently they are not made for professional or formal contexts, but for day-to-day English. Let's use this. You have a cut on your finger. You
Had better.
All right. You had better. Fantastic, yes. Hubiera sido mejor que veas a un doctor. You had better see a doctor. Redemption question. Which dice should we pick?
Pierce.
All right. The film starts at 9 p.m. rough. You
Had better not.
just had better not. Yes. Hubiera sido mejor que no llegues tarde. My mother isn't feeling well, so I told her that she
go. Yeah, she how go.
The second one,
Yeah,
this one, or the second one. She had to. Now remind of, I mean, the only difference between at and should is that in at you do use the infinitive. I don't know if you notice it. For example, look at the sentences that we wrote yesterday. Where is that? For example, look at this. The university ought to, right? The infinitive, to be aware of Shirley's presentation. Or for example, which one have we also reading? Carlos ought to be banned, right? I mean, all of them are using the infinitive. The classes ought to be recorded. Now, whereas when you look at the should examples, Rene and Carlos should be. They are not using should to be, right? They are using the basic form of the verb to be, but they are not using to. They are not using the infinitive. And look at this one. Chile should be giving. I mean, we are not using to here, right? So that is maybe the only grammar or grammatical difference between these terms, that for at, you do use the infinitive. Look at it. At to. But for should, you don't use it. All right? Is that fine?
Okay, now it's fine.
Fantastic. All right, what about this one? To study for tomorrow's exam.
Cheers, action, how? Cheers. Cheers.
Oh, the third one. I'm sorry, I listened to you first one. I'm so sorry. Okay, time freeze. It doesn't matter. We receive our magic cards.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Truly. 11. I need help, doctor. My baby doesn't sleep well. What?
Should I do?
Yes, fantastic. The simple sentence, right? We know how to write this one very well. I'm so hot. You
should take off your coat.
The third one, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic, yes. And as you can see, should never uses the infinitive, the to. Always uses the basic form of the verb. There we are. The airline only allows 2 pieces of luggage. You pack too much, or you will have to take it out at the airport.
Had better know. The fears.
All right. Yes, very good. I need your help and support. You
The fears. Oh, no, too.
fantastic. Yes, you have recognized it pretty well. You are not to. As you can see, always uses infinitive. The at. I think that the grade my teacher gave me on my test is wrong. Really? You to her after class today.
The second, out tall.
Fantastic. Yes. Here it was easy to recognize that, right? Because the third option was incorrectly written, right? Should we pick number 1, 2, or 3?
2.
2, okay. My mother isn't feeling well, so I told her that she
That you out to go.
fantastic. Ought to go.
Up.
Yes, the pronunciation, maybe I hear I can make a very quick pause. No, for at, although maybe you're tempted to pronounce it like out, when you listen to how Americans pronounce this word, they don't pronounce it like that. Of course, we have seen that this is deberías, basically, and the pronunciation would be at, like this, at.
Ox.
Yeah, act. Maybe I'm gonna erase this one. I think the O and the T, ought. That's it, ought. Pronounce it?
I don't know if this is of.
No, ought with a T, with a T sound very, very strong. Ought.
At.
Yes, exactly. Ought. Very good. One more time, please.
At.
Fantastic. Yes, ought. Yes, very good. The T sound is very, very strong. So yeah, you don't pronounce it like in this case. or without. No, it's at. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. You ought not. You ought to do this. You ought not. Brought her here. Okay, we're finished. Very good. I think it was a very good test anyways. We have, I think, clarified many of our concerns here, right? These quizzes. It was a very successful one. Very good. Do you have any other question about this topic, Shirley, or we can move on to the other one?
No, I don't have more question.
All right, fantastic. So let's move on to next topic. Let me see it. All right. So today we are going to start a new topic. And I think this is a very interesting one, actually. And actually, we are going to be reminding some information and some topics that we have already discussed previously, but nonetheless, we're going to expand on them a little bit more. So you remind that we have discussed this previously, probably in our first classes, the relative pronouns. This is something that we have already talked about. Nonetheless, let us remind what is a relative pronoun. A relative pronoun is a word that introduces a dependent or a relative clause and connects it to an independent clause, right? Now, let us do this before we continue with the rest of the lesson, because I think this is a concept that we need to have very clear in our mind. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to create a new document for today's class. Here. I'm going to close this. Right. This too. All right, so we're gonna write down here because we have complemented this, and it's important for you to have it as well. So here, we're gonna talk about, first of all, how's this called? I'm so sorry. Well, I'm gonna paste it first. Oh, no, not like that. Like this. Okay. Relative pronouns. Relative pronouns. Oh, I'm sorry. Pronouns. There you are. Relative pronouns. Okay, so I was mentioning a relative pronoun is a word that introduces a dependent or relative clause and connects it to an independent clause. Now, do you remember what is a dependent clause, Shirley? And also, what is an independent clause? Do you remind the meaning of these terms, independent and dependent clause?
No, exactly no. Not clausule.
That's okay.
Different clause.
Yes. You know, an independent clause, in my own words, is basically a sentence. It's a sentence that makes sense by itself. Es una sentencia, una oración que hace sentido por ella misma. It does not need any other sentence. For example, let me show it to you. I want my car. Is this a sentence, I ask you, right? Is this a sentence that makes sense by itself? Or would you say that this sentence needs a complement or another sentence to be understandable? Or would you say that this sentence is understandable by itself?
It's understandable.
Yes, right? Because it basically says, I want my car, right? When you read this, you understand, okay, this person, whoever is I, is trying to express that he wants his car, right? That's it. Now, if I, for example, write down this. For example, this. Would you say this sentence is understandable? Was the third runner?
No.
Not right? Because it's like, when you read this, okay, what's the third runner? So what does it mean? It doesn't even have a subject in the sentence. It's very difficult to distinguish what type of verb this is. The context is not actually very well. I mean, this is an incomplete sentence. It's very easy to notice it, right? When you read this, your reason tells you, okay, this doesn't make sense by itself. Now, this would be a dependent clause. When I erase it here, this is what a dependent clause is, because a dependent clause, I'm going to write down here my definition, my own words, is a sentence that does not make sense by itself. It needs an independent class to be understandable. There you are. It's a sentence that does not make sense by itself. A dependent clause, right? We have discussed independent, but now we are talking about dependent clauses. I'm going to move all this towards another page. Independent clause, and here dependent clause. Here highlight this so we can differentiate here and here. All right, fantastic. So this is very important. As I was mentioning, an independent clause is a sentence that makes sense by itself. Now, a dependent clause, it's a sentence that doesn't make sense by itself, but needs an independent clause to be understandable. For example, now let me tell you, if I include this, let's say I was winning and for example, look at this. If I add this this independent sentence, does it make sense now? It does, right?
Yeah.
And not only is this an independent clause or a complement, can be also a complement or a complement. For example, I could have just added something like this, merely with a noun, merely with a pronoun in this case, I. This sentence would be an independent clause. So a dependent clause, in order to be understandable, needs as a complement an independent clause or any other type of complement. For example, in this case, I'm not adding a sentence, right? I'm simply adding a pronoun. And because of the pronoun, the sentence becomes an independent one because it's understandable by itself, okay? So as you can see, the dependent sentences or dependent clauses are those ones which need an independent clause in order to be understandable, or that also need a complement of any type in order to be understandable, okay? Very good. Now that we have clarified this meanings, by the way, is there any question about this, the meanings of these expressions?
No, that's okay. I think that's okay.
Okay, fantastic. So now, as I was mentioning, when you want to unite, all right, when you want to unite, unir, an independent and dependent classes, because I don't know if you have noticed this, Shirley, but in our daily life, many of the expressions we say are basically a union, a conjunction, that is the name that it receives in mathematics, right? A conjunction of independent and dependent classes. For example, if I say, let's try whatever, for example, when we say hi, right? When we greet each other at the beginning of our classes, we say, how are you? How are you, right? This is the first thing we always say. And then, how are you? And then we respond, right? It's been a pretty boring day, but tomorrow will be better because I'm going out. For example, look at this sentence. This could be something that we say in our daily lives. When we start our classes or when you are meeting a friend, it has been a pretty boring day, but tomorrow will be better because I'm going out. Look at this sentence. Although it's a large sentence, are you able to identify within the sentence independent and also dependent classes? Let us look for some of them. For example, it has been a pretty boring day. Here, would you say this is an independent or dependent class?
In the class.
Yes, independent, right? Because you can understand it by itself. It has been a pretty boring day, right? Tomorrow will be better because I'm going out. In this case, I think I'm gonna tomorrow will be better. Let's say, or not. Better or not. For example, this one. I think it's better to include like this. It has been a pretty boring day. So until this one we saw, this is an independent class. Very good.
Yeah.
But tomorrow will be better. This is an independent or dependent class. I would say it's independent, right? But tomorrow will be better, right? Because we understand it by itself. Now, what about this one? Or not because I'm going out. Would you say this is a sentence that is dependent or independent?
Depending.
Dependent, right? Because imagine that we don't have any of this. We erase it and we just have that. Or not because I'm going out. Doesn't make sense, right? There is something lacking. It's obvious there is something lacking. Now, of course, we're going to undo this. Now, we need to find a way in order to unite these sentences in our daily life. And there are some techniques for doing so. There are a lot of actually. But nonetheless, we are going to start learning today and tomorrow as well a very good technique that utilizes this topic, that is relative pronouns, okay? This is what the reason why we have discussed this, an independent and dependent class. The reason why we are talking about this is because in order to unite independent classes and dependent classes, we are going to use as a technique relative pronouns. We're going to be able to see that by using relative pronouns, we can combine sentences that are independent and dependent. And when we are able to combine these sentences, our language is very rich. Because imagine a word in which you just speak with independent classes, something like, I'm going to go out tomorrow. I will speak. I will run. I will continue running. I will drink water. Like, it will be super boring, right? Super weird. I mean, it will be super simple, or our languages, but it's because we are able to combine independent and dependent classes and to make very complex sentences that our language is very rich. Not only English, but also Spanish, because this also exists in Spanish. So as I say, imagine a word like, if you talk to somebody and he just says independent classes, how are you? How was your day? It was good. It was rainy. It was boring. I used my computer. I press a button. Right? It would be super weird, right? It was super like cringy because it's like super basic, right? You just speak in independent classes. It's something that maybe you do when you are learning a language. Let's say when you were learning English, maybe you just spoke with independent classes, right? But then when you learn more, you start combining them. So tomorrow we're going to discuss that, okay? How to use relative pronouns, okay, here. Helps us to enrich our language, okay? Because that is what it does. This helps us to enrich our language and make complex sentences, which is our objective in this case. We're going to try to make complex sentences, right? And in order to do that, we're going to be using, as I say, we're going to be using these relative pronouns, all right? Is there any question about the relative pronouns? Do you understand their task, Shirley?
Yeah, that's okay. My question is for the paint
Which one, excuse me?
clause, because you can use in every moment, or you can use a more like first sentence, or you need use only for the second sentence.
You mean the relative pronouns, or what do you mean?
Depending clause.
This dependent class.
Usually
Okay,
you
so
use that for the second sentence or third sentence, but no like first sentence. That's okay?
okay, yes, I get it. Yes, usually yes. Usually yes. Maybe there's one example in which you don't. I don't know. I could think about one. It was no, yes, probably yes. Tomorrow we're gonna try to look for other examples in which maybe you can use a dependent class at the beginning, But normally, yes, you are very right that independent classes always start our sentences, and we combine them with dependent classes, maybe in the second place or in the third place of our complex sentence, but they are not very usually at the beginning. Maybe there's one or two exceptions. But yes, normally, that is a very good point, actually, it's right. Normally, independent clauses always go first. And then we add our dependent classes. Very good. Is this fine, or do you have any other questions?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to talk about this tomorrow, okay? How to use these relative pronouns. All right, fantastic. But these concepts are very important, and I'm very glad that we have clarified them. All right, we're going to stop today's class here. I'm going to change this 10th like this. And I'm going to download it. All right, fantastic. And I'm going to send it to you. Here. All right, very good. There you are. Okay, very good. Very good, usually. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna take your assistance. Please help me with the traditional poll that we always fill. Okay. And as I said, we're going to be discussing that how to use relative pronouns that you're going to find very easy. Actually, it's a very easy topic, but super useful. Like it enriches our language very much. I can assure you that when you comprehend to use this relative pronouns, it enriches your English tremendously. Continue. Let me see this. All right, thank you very much, dear Julie. Okay, so your assistance is also confirmed. All right, fantastic. So we're going to be seeing each other tomorrow. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the class, and I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow. Okay, have a wonderful night, Shirley.
Thank you. See you.
All right, see you. Bye-bye.